And what I'll do is I'll work up a preliminary sketch. These preliminary sketches came from the rendering. I'd done small scale drawings for the design sketch, then we took them to a photocopier, real simple process, and enlarged them up this size. Then I laid this paper on top to develop the drawing a little bit further. And then I take this good drawing paper and I lay it down on top of the drawings. I have a light table here, which is one of our standard pieces of equipment here at the studio. The light comes through this drawing so I can make a tracing of it. So now I'm copying the drawing. In this particular case, this is Bartimaeus, and he's blind. So my thought was to show him, as if he couldn't see his hand, and he has one hand extended like you would be if you were trying to find your way. And I wanted to include a handicapped person as one of the people to kind of make it an inclusive group. All right, this is an example, an enlargement of the design rendering that we were looking at before. The design rendering is my colored design sketch where I've worked out my color themes, and then from the design sketch we make the rendering. The rendering is the full-size drawing that the artist uses to cut the glass and has a pattern to lead the window by. So we have to make the cartoon first in order to cut the glass. And you can see on the light table here that we have the stained glass window laid out. We've done some of the painting for the details in the different areas. And you can see the colored rendering. Actually, it's upside down as we're looking at it. So you can see the reds, the purples, the brown colors. So I have Joseph and Mary that I'm going to work on today in the painting studio. These heavy black lines represent the trace lines, and then we'll put a matte on it later for varying tones. Now what I'll do is I'll take this line drawing and I will put it underneath the glass. What we do is we take the clear glass, we take a piece of clear plastic and we trace off the area of the design, and then we glue the glass down on that plastic so that we can move all this stuff around. Then I put my drawing underneath the glass so I can come back later with my painting. The next step is to do the trace lines, and when we're talking about trace lines, it really is what you would expect. It's a line that you trace from the original artwork. And one of the advantages of working with glass as a painter is that you can see readily through your medium. And so what I'll do is I'll take this brush and I will begin to trace off the design. You want the glass paint about the consistency of India ink, and you want to do your trace lines. The trace line will not be opaque. It will be translucent when it fires. The glass paint is really a transparent or translucent glaze that you're adding to the surface of the glass. It's not really meant to be black. So I'll go about creating this design over the entire surface, and then we'll fire the glass in the kiln before we put the matting on there. So this goes through, the glass painting goes through a number of different steps before you're complete. So the trace lines then are fired in the kiln. You can see that this particular thistle design that we have here has been painted with the trace lines. Then I'm going to take this glass and I'm going to bring it over here and I'm going to lay it into the kiln. And the kiln basically is like a big broiler oven. If you look at the top here, you can see these coils. These coils heat up like an electric oven, and this will fire the glass in this kiln to 1250 degrees. This glass that's already in here has already been fired, and you can see how slick it is. You can see how matte the surface is on the paint. So when the glass is fired, it turns into a matte, shiny surface, and it's permanently adhered to the surface of the glass. The glass paint is made up of very, very, very finely ground glass and different metal oxides, so that when it fires, that finely ground glass melts, and it melts into the surface permanently, the different metal oxides. So what we're going to do, what happens is that the cartoon is laid out securely on top of a tabletop. We use a wood and just plywood table, and then we take the cartoon and we tape the cartoon down to the top of the table, and then we take the lead strips and we begin to do the fabrication. And in a second, let me get this, let me mark this lead. You have to miter all the cuts for the lead. And let's see. There's different ways of cutting the lead. We use a lead nipper, which is this little funny little device. It looks like a pair of wire cutters, except it's made just for cutting the lead. And then I'll come over here and lay another strip in. So after the window is leaded together, then we will come back and we will solder all of the different joints together with the soldering iron. And you can see when you're looking at the surface of the stained glass window, you have the lead strips, and then each one of the joints has got a little blob of silvery metal. That's the solder. That's what ties all the metal strips together. And then from this stage, we cement and clean the window, where we put a waterproofing cement. There's a gap in here between the glass and the lead. That gap will get filled with a putty, a lot like the window putty they used to use on old window sashes, except we added some black paint to it to darken the cement, and it also comes back and darkens the surface of the lead, that we can come back in the final step and do a polishing to give it a real nice pewter polish look to it. The stained glass windows are delivered to the job site and installed. We have a full-time installation crew that specializes in the installation of the stained glass. In this particular situation, we've had to set up scaffolding in order to reach the height of the window. They are right now working at about 21 feet. That level of the scaffolding is at about 20 feet, so they're working at about 25 feet from the floor. And there's carpentry skills and glass working skills, painting skills. The installer has to be the jack of all trades in terms of figuring out what has to happen. And a few months ago, Michael had come over here and taken tracings of the openings with brown craft paper. The brown craft paper was laid over those openings and a pencil was used to trace off the shape. So when we started building the stained glass windows, we had a very accurate shape to begin with. So now that we're coming back to install the stained glass, they snug right up into the openings so that they fit properly. And then we're preparing wood trims to fit around the stained glass so that the windows are held securely in place. And we're leaving the existing plate glass windows there to give some protection from wind and rain and that kind of thing. So it makes a real airtight installation. My favorite time to look at the stained glass windows in the sanctuary is when the lights are off, because with the lights off, you don't have any competition for the sunlight, so you really get to see the artwork and the design. And I spent a few minutes going back over and looking at the windows, and I don't know if it's hard, like if you have children, you know, they always say it's hard to pick out a favorite. So it's hard for me to have any favorites, but I think that having a chance to go back and look at the windows, I've really enjoyed the process of getting a chance to do a commission of this size. I'm really grateful to the people at the Methodist Church here in Clinton for giving me that opportunity. I know that one of the deadly sins is pride, so you have to be real careful not to be too prideful over a project like this. But I do think it is a real accomplishment, and I consider it my masterpiece.